career in the entertainment industry has enabled me to work with a diverse range of talent, from up-and-coming artists to established celebrities. Through my years of experience, I've recognized two essential aspects. Industry professionals, whether famous stars, up-and-coming talent, or behind-the-scenes staff, have fascinating stories to tell. Secondly, audiences are eager to listen to these stories, which offer a glimpse into their lives and the evolution of their life stories. This podcast aims to share these narratives, providing information on how they evolved into their chosen career. We will delve into their journey to stardom, discuss their struggles and successes, and hear from people who help them achieve their goals. Get ready for intriguing behind-the-scenes stories and insights into the fascinating world of entertainment. Hi, I'm Tony Mantor. Welcome to Almost Live Nashville. Joining us today is P.P. Arnold, an accomplished American soul singer who launched her career with Ike and Tina Turner. Her next move was to London, where she established a successful solo career, becoming the first artist to record The First Cut is the Deepest. Another big record she had was Angel of the Morning. We appreciate her taking the time to share her inspiring story. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm really happy to have you on. It's my understanding when you started singing, that was not your plan. How did you get into the entertainment business?
My story was not one of having an ambition to be a professional singer or to be in the music industry. I'm doing some shows now, Intimate Evening with P.P. Arnold, for my Soul Survivor, my book, Soul Survivor. This show is more of a theatrical show. I tell the story, and I take it all the way back to my gospel roots. I tell them about how most people know me from coming to the UK with the Ike and Tina Turner review. What they don't know is that I've been singing all my life, and that I was born into a family of gospel singers, and that my parents moved from Tyler, Texas to Los Angeles in 1943 to escape the Jim Crow racism and segregation, right?
Is that when you started your singing?
My grandmother and my Aunt Catherine created the Full Gospel Baptist Church. We used to have services in Aunt Catherine's living room. That's where I started my show. When people come into the theater, they're hearing me, and I've done this whole thing, I've done it from the root, and I've stacked all the harmonies so it sounds like my family in Aunt Catherine's living room. And I'm singing like, I love the Lord, he heard my cry, pitied every moan. And all the harmonies come in, I love the Lord, he heard my cry.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Sounds really good. And you're still singing good. That's awesome.
And I put the whole thing, the hallelujahs and, and yeah, so when people come into that theater, that's what they're hearing, even before I come on stage.
Oh, that's great.
And then I walk on stage singing Wade in the Water, and I do Wade in the Water. And then I talk about the whole thing of like Aunt Catherine's living room. And these, they've heard some of the songs that we sang.
And how old was you when you was doing that?
I started singing at the age of 4. And I sing my little song that I sang. We are soldiers in the army. I do that, and this little light of mine that I used to do with my siblings. And then I open it up.
Oh, yeah, that's just so nice. Great story and just really inspiring. And it wasn't long after that Ike and Tina Turner showed up for you.
So like when Ike and Tina came knocking for me, I never looked for stardom. And I never had that ambition to be in the industry or be a professional singer. Yeah,
that's great. And I think that you was doing really well in school at that time too, right?
I was an honor roll student on my way to being a legal secretary. But at the age of 17, I had been married for 2 years. I was trapped in a marriage that was physically and mentally abusive.
Yeah, that's too bad.
So I tell that story of being in my laundry room that Sunday morning and reminiscing, hearing my father's quote, when you make your bed hard, you gotta lie in it. So I was kind of lying in my hard bed, reminiscing about what it used to be like. Oh, Sunday mornings used to be about getting up, going to church, teaching Sunday school, and marching in the church with my choir robe, singing, walking the light, you know. I was like in there that morning and I actually said a prayer. I asked God to show me a way out of the situation that I was in. I knew I brought it all on myself, but I was afraid and I asked God for help.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. And it looks like he answered your prayer.
And I went in the house, phone rang, girlfriend of my brother, Maxine Smith, her and another girl, Gloria Scott, who you might know of Gloria Scott. You might have heard Gloria.
Yeah, sure.
They called me in a panic. Gloria was already an Ike. She knew, you know, Ike Turner was very shrewd. He had 2 sets of Ike. He had a set that went out on the road with the review and another set that he sent out on the Dick Clark tours. So Gloria sang with this B group. So Gloria knew that the other girls were leaving. So she wanted that gig. So she had brought Maxine in, and then the other girl that was supposed to go with them didn't show up. So they called me out of desperation. So Maxine, you know, I can't go. You know, David, my husband's not going to let me go. And she goes like, well, tell him anything. We're coming to get you in 30 minutes. Bam, she hung up the phone.
Yeah.
In 30 minutes, she was there. And I had like put my little hairnet, feather hairnet, because my hair was all messed up and everything. I was still in my house clothes when they came. Next thing I know, 2 hours later, I'm in Ike and Tina's living room singing, dancing in the street.
Wow, that's impressive.
Well, you know, Tina goes, right, girl, you got the gig. I go like, oh, no, not me. I'm not going. I'm in big trouble. I should have been home 2 hours ago. I told my husband a lie to get him the babysit. Tina said, well, so I said to Tina, I'm going to get my butt kicked when I get home. Tina said to me, well, if you're going to get your butt kicked for nothing, why don't you ride up to Fresno with us and at least see the gig? I was under Tina Turner. She was so beautiful. And she was right, because I was going to get my butt kicked, right? So, but I was like under her spell. And that day had kind of taken on a life of its own. I go, I see the show, you know, it's just the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my whole life. Come back home, I get my butt kicked. I remember my prayer. Realized that God had answered my prayer, and I believed that he was showing me the way out. So that's how I got into show business.
Wow, that's great. What a story. Who was your inspiration that you liked listening to?
Aretha Franklin was my inspiration for singing, period. You know, as a little girl, Aretha, the gospel, you know.
Oh, yeah, she was great. No doubt about it. How long was you with Ike and Tina Turner before you decided that you needed to take and expand and go on your own?
Well, I toured with Ike and Tina for 2 years, from 64 to 66.
Okay.
So I was with them when they had River Deep Mountain High.
Right.
After it had flopped in America, but it was a big hit in the UK. And then they got the opportunity to support the Stones on their 1966 tour. So I just happened to be with the review at that time when we came to the UK, 1966 Rolling Stones tour.
So Mick Jagger and you became friends, right? And that was a big part of why you made your move and stayed over in the UK?
Well, the Stones, I would say, okay, while I was on tour, Mick Jagger and I became friends.
Right.
And so it wasn't actually the Stones is why I stayed. I stayed because Stone's manager had Immediate Records, which was one of the first independent record labels there, here, there, yeah. Mick and Andrew invited me to stay in the UK and sign to the Immediate record label. And once again, I had never even planned on being in the business, and I had certainly never planned on being a solo artist. But there was a lot of things going on with Ike and Tina, the stuff that was going on. And I was planning on leaving. I didn't know how I would keep going. I hadn't even thought about it, but I was planning on leaving the review when we got back to the States.
So what happened next then?
They offered me this opportunity to stay in the UK and sign to the Immediate record label. And that's what it did. And then that was the beginning.
Yeah, and what a great beginning. When you cut The First Cut Is the Deepest, was that song written for you or pitched to you?
As if it was written for me, but it was pitched to me. And it was really as if Steve, as we call him, Yusef now. I just recently got a chance. We did a show doing a duet of First Cut Is the Deepest for the very first time together.
Wow, that must have been great.
That was just mind-blowing, really. Yeah, he pitched that song. Mike Hurst pitched the song. Mike Hurst produced it, and Mike was producing Yusef, Cat, at the time, and he brought the song to the table. Because the actual first single that I released, I don't know if you know my single, Everybody's Gonna Say That It's All Right There. You know that tune?
Absolutely. Great song.
That was the first release, but it didn't really do anything. It's a big hit over here now, though. They've just released it again on vinyl. Everything's going to be all right. So it survived the test of time.
Yeah, that's great.
So Andrew brought Mike in to produce First Cut Is the Deepest. Yeah, and it was and it was a hit. It was a big hit. It was stayed in the chart about 10, 12 weeks. It wasn't as big a hit as it could have been because Immediate had a lot of distribution problems back there in those days. But I recorded it 10 years before Rod. Not sure if Sheryl Crow was born or not. But they made the in later days, they actually got paid. Everybody in the 60s got ripped off. So,
yeah, that's really sad. I've heard all those stories.
Yep.
With your body of work and everything that you've done over the years, what's some of the things that just stand out to you that you'll never forget?
I'll never forget that experience of being a young, really naive, young Black American girl from Watt coming to the UK and coming out of the Civil Rights Revolution to the rock and roll revolution that was happening here in the UK and being such a big part of that. Yeah, those years and becoming a solo artist. I didn't know. It wasn't even my vision at the time. It was Andrew's vision. I just loved to sing. So those years of being through that and all my friendships and all the relationships with Mick and Steve Marriott and Jimi Hendrix. Jimi came and God planned it that we lived right around the corner from each other just by accident,
Oh, yeah. And some of the tours that you was in, it was just outstanding.
I was a part of that whole scene, that whole 60s scene. And my band, The Nice, Keith Emerson was my musical director for The Nice. And I had a few bands, but The Nice was the well-known band that worked alongside all the big rock and roll, Pink Floyd, everybody, Jeff Beck, all of the, I was part of that.
Yeah, and that was just an awesome time to be alive. If we fast forward a little bit, Barry Gibb actually produced some music for you as well.
Right, he really did. Immediate folded, Immediate Records went bankrupt. Have you read my book, The Soul Survivor?
No, I'm going to have to get that.
We'll have to get you also a copy of that because it has the whole story. When Immediate folded, my friend James Morris, who later became my husband, he worked for Robert Stigwood. He was like a Robert's personal assistant, driver, everything. That's how I met Barry. Barry was a big fan of my version of To Love Somebody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he wanted to meet me, and he and Jim were like really close. So that's how I met Barry. And at the time, the Bee Gees had split up. The brothers had split up. And so I was at a crossroads. Barry was at a crossroads. He loved my voice. So he wanted to, instead of just like being in all the politics that was going on at the time with the family politics, he wanted to produce me.
Nice.
We just, we would just spend days together and songs run like a river through him. All of those songs that we did on the Turning Tide album, we produced those, he produced those, and there was a lot of politics.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, Robert wanted Barry. He didn't want him producing me. He wanted him producing his brothers, to be back with his brothers, which I did too. I was a big BG fan, so in a way I got kind of caught in the middle of those politics. Anyway, it's a long story. It's all in the book. So Barry had a plan. Ahmed Erdogan came to town. Barry invited Ahmed dinner one evening. Stiggy came, but Stiggy didn't know Barry's plan. So after dinner, he pulled out the guitar and we sang some of the songs that we had been working on together. And Ahmed goes, Stiggy, this girl is great. Send her up yet?
Yeah.
And Stiggy goes, yes. Yes, we're dealing with the paperwork right now, right? But of course he hadn't. And he wasn't really happy about signing me, but he did because Ahmed, great idea, and, Polydor London and Atlantic in the States. I mean, that was like, for me, like a dream come true.
Yeah, I get that for sure.
Things didn't really work out. We recorded, I think the track Bury Me Down by the River was released in the States, but because there wasn't an album following it and everything together, it didn't really get the airplay, and Stiggy wasn't really pushing that, basically. Anyway, what happened is like at the end of the day, those recordings got put on the shelf.
Yeah, that's too bad. Unfortunately, that does happen, though.
Eric Clapton was also signed to Robert Stigwood. And even though Stiggy was managing me, his will, but he didn't dump me straight away. He put me on the tour. I opened up the Eric Clapton, Delaney and Bonnie tour here in the early 70s. Yeah, I put together, Steve Howe was on guitar, playing guitar with me. Ashton Gardner and died, Tony Ashton and Kim Gardner. And yeah, those guys were my rhythm section. And I had Leslie Duncan and Kay Garner. And we opened up the tour. I was open for that tour. And so that was a great opportunity. So I thought, I'm going to get back to recording and being live again because there was a lot that had happened during that period. Yeah, Stiggy didn't like those tracks. After the tour, we got Eric to produce and we did those great covers, Brand New Day, great cover of Brand New Day, You Can't Always Get What You Want, and the Medicated Groove track. Those tracks got put on the shelf as well.
Wow. Yeah, that's just so bad.
I fought for 50 years to get the right to release that music, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how this business operates at times. It's pretty sad.
Yep.
Now, you recorded with Small Faces and ultimately at some point recorded with Rod Stewart as well, right?
I recorded with the Small Faces in 67, 68. I recorded Tin Soldier. You know that track, Tin Soldier?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's me on Tin Soldier. And they also played on Everything's Gonna Be All Right. They played and sang on that. And then they produced my track, If You Think You're Groovy. Those are the things we did at immediate. But I worked with Steve all through the years, right up the Packet of Three. And I recorded stuff with them with Humble Pie, with Steve, and then right up until right before Steve passed away, all his solo albums after that. Rod Stewart. Uh-oh. Yeah. Okay, Mick had the idea of producing Rod and I together to do like Otis Redding, Carlin Thomas type duet kind of vibe. That's what we were doing. But Rod was a nightmare during those sessions. We did that track and we did, oh God, what's the name of the track? Working on a coal mine going, that Leroy Dorsey track, Working on a Coal Mine. We recorded that track and that's never, I don't know what happened to that. Mick was so annoyed at Rod during those sessions because Rod was so difficult to work with. We first started recording the song. It was too low for me. Then we decided, we started recording it. Rod didn't like the key that he was singing in. So we changed the key so it made it too low for me. So once I got into that low key, and when I was like sounding good in the low key, he wanted to change the key again. So he changed the key so it's way too high. So that's why when you hear that track, Come On Baby, I'm singing that high, that top bit. So once I got into that, it's happening. It wasn't happy. So, whoa, that was it. Mick had had enough. The session done. Mick walked out. That's why that track was never released properly.
Yeah, that's too bad because it did get released. It just didn't go where it should have, just hit the top 100.
Did it get the top 100? I never knew it went to the top 100.
Yeah, it did get into the top 100, I think around 91 or so. And that was in the UK. It just didn't go high as it should have.
I don't know nothing about that. You just told me something that I don't even know, because all I know is that I found out that the track had been released on some of Rod's album. It was like as if I was a backing singer on the track.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I suddenly, you just told me something that I didn't know.
Yeah, it's documented as 2005 release. Went to number 93 in the UK.
I never heard that, but I will definitely check that out and see what that is. Wow. Yeah, so that was the end of me and Rod's recording relationship together.
So what's on the schedule now? You're out there promoting your book. I think you're doing some performances. What's coming up for you?
Okay, do you know about the New Adventures album? The New Adventures of P.P. Arnold?
I don't know a lot about it, but I have heard about it.
This is the New Adventures of P.P. Arnold album, okay? And it has lots of stuff. Garrett Mankiewicz did all the artwork, and he did all the photos like he did for like the early ones. And it has all the sleeves. It's a double album, and it was produced by Steve Craddock of Ocean Color Scene. So I got Paul Weller. It was like mixed, and we recorded it in Steve's studio in Devon, but it was mixed at Black Barn, Paul Weller studio. And I've got a couple of Paul tunes on here. Shoot the Dove. You know that tune, Shoot the Dove?
Yes, absolutely.
And When I Was Your Picture, that Paul and I do things together on that. I'm getting ready to do a duet with Paul for this new album. So this is live in Liverpool. This is being released on the 18th of October. So it's like the live album. We toured the New Adventures album in 2019 before the pandemic. It's released on Ear Music. The last concert that we did, Steve toured with me and musical directed the band. We had a great band with horns and girls and everything. He did that. So this is the live version, live in Liverpool gig that we did when we were touring the New Adventures album. And it was recorded at the Grand Central Hall in Liverpool. Yeah, it's my first, and it's the only live album I've ever done. And I'm really, 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 really proud of it. And it sounds great. We've also got the guys from the Specials. Marcus Ferrari mixed it. He's the engineer that went out on the road with us, and he recorded it. We mixed it here recently. But the specials, the guys, the horn players, the guitar players from the specials are playing on that. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. My son, Kojo Samuel, we wrote I Believe and Hold On to Your Dreams, the two tracks that I wrote with my son on there. And they're really, everybody loves those tracks. And Grandma's still out here going strong.
Yeah, gotta say, it's just great that you're still out there doing what you love to do.
Oh, that's my happy place.
Oh, yeah, I understand that. Mine too. How can people find you?
Well, they can find me. I have a website, www.pparnold.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on YouTube, all over YouTube. If you want to see like a lot of history, and all you have to do is Google me.
Absolutely. And I'm sure they will. This has been just fantastic. I really appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. God bless. Lots of love. Okay. Cheers.
Thanks again. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the show. This has been a Tony Mantor production. For more information, contact media@plateaumusic.com.